history.
That kind of counter memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a long passage. I think it's the end of the first section where you're in the mountains of Bulgaria and they're making their way across the Danube. No, it's the Danube.
The Danube.
Yeah. Is that completely constructed, or is there actually a sort of family history that's taken?
In the center, or at the center of the first volume, is the image of my mother. So my mother is maybe the most important character in this book. My mother influenced me a lot. She was and she still is, I thank God. She's 85 now. The greatest person that I have ever met. Though she has no education and she is a simple peasant. She's the main character here, and her line, her ancestors are also among the characters here. So she told me once that she was of a Bulgarian origin, and that her ancestors came from Bulgaria, crossed the Danube, and went near Bucharest, in a village near Bucharest. I used this information to create some, as you said, surrealistic images. So to invent a sort of a archetypal struggle between the forces of the heaven and the forces of the hell, a fight against angels and devils, like in Hieronymus Bosch, in a way, because the Bulgarian legends are full of Bogomilism. So the Bogomils, a sort of a primitive Christians who were dualistic, so they believed that the devil and God were brothers, and they both contributed to the making of the world. So there are very strange legends of this kind. Because of that, I invented this fantastic universal fight against the good and the evil, and then I invented the crossing of the Danube on the ice, where in the ice there are butterflies.
Yeah, that's one of the first times you get this incredible image of butterflies.
Yes.
Which they consume.
Yes. and I just loved to invent images all the time, in a surrealistic way, or in a Baroque and Mannerist way, if you want it. And that fight between demons and angels is one of my favorite pages in this book.
Yeah.
And I remember it many times. Yeah.
The writing's really lively there. You do this really great thing too, which I don't associate with the kind of description writing you're talking about, which is that there's just a really strong sense on every page of what everything smells like. There's this like very, redolent odors, and some are quite pleasant, but some are actually very unpleasant. I mean, but it's one of the things that makes the writing really come alive, I think.
Yes, smelling has always been important for artists, and mainly for poets. And this has a reason. Actually, our brain developed from the centers of the smell. So our cerebral hemispheres developed for the two very tiny bulbs with which we smell, actually. So we owe to the smell our mind, our intelligence, our reason, and so on. Everything came from there. And the smell is the most mysterious of all our senses. Nobody knows, not even the scientists who study this problem, nobody knows what chemical combinations unlock the centers of the smell in the brain. All the poets, starting from and culminating, I would say, with the symbolists, with Baudelaire and Mallarmé and Rimbaud and all the others, relied on smell very strongly, because smell has this quality to evoke memories, to evoke I don't know, images and so on. Actually, when Marcel Proust talked about that Madeleine, which called into the child's mind a whole continent of the memory, actually he was inspired by the smell of the Madeleine,
Right,
by its flavor, mainly, not by its taste. So if the smells are very, very pervasive, I'd say, in this book, it is just because they have this evocative power.
It's really strong. It's one of the most odoriferous books I can remember since Patrick Süskind's Perfume. So, congratulations on that. One of the things I think is really interesting as you read through, there are a few moments. They're not a great number of them, but you really notice them where you almost pull back and you say, like, why am I writing this book? What is this book about? I mean, there's one passage that it's at the very, I don't know, it's 3/4 of the way through, where you suddenly stop. You say, maybe in the heart of this book there is nothing other than howling, yellow, blinding, apocalyptic howling. And then you go into something that is very much, we're back in the present, in the moment. Last night, with all my strength sucked dry, I fell asleep between my flaccid sheets and lay like a corpse frozen on a field, in an utter lack of existence that made death seem like a pointless agitation, until I reacquired, for the first time in 3 or 4 years, my state of nocturnal, quote, revelation. In fact, I've never found the right name for it, and the one I use here seems to serve only inasmuch as it is weak and unmarked, because in addition, in the limitless insanity of my, quote, central dream, and here, more than ever, the word my should be in quotation marks, it doesn't, quote, reveal anything to me except perhaps revelation itself. It reveals to me the fact that in this opaque, dense world, murderous as a pillow that someone holds over your face, kneeling mercilessly on your chest to stop your writhing, revelation is possible. There's a certain kind of way that you take this step back at various moments, and that you sort of call into question what you're doing, what this whole project is about. I mean, that doesn't take anything away from the absolute assuredness of the prose. But I'm curious, is that, was that something you felt as you were writing it? Did you feel that there were moments that you had to step away and say, what is this all about? We should set this up by saying that this is so much of a book that takes place in places that we can't quite, we're never really sure if they're hallucinatory, or if they're a dream, if they're a dream about a dream, whose dream they might even be. So I'm curious, what you might say to us about that.
Yes, it's very interesting from the point of view of the literary theory and of the theory of the novel. This book is a hybrid. It's not a pure book like, let's say, 100 Years of Solitude, which is absolutely flat and shining all the time. This is a hybrid among several possible attitudes, narrative attitudes, between, for example, the first person narrative and the third person one. I always played with these points of views and angles of seeing things and so on, very freely, stepping back and forth, as you said, as compared to the big image. So sometimes I felt the need to break the illusion, to break the illusion in the reader's mind, to make him aware of the fact that the book is only a dream, the book is only a fantasy. So to make him aware of the literarity of this book. So sometimes, as you said, absolutely remarkably, I stepped back to contemplate my painting, let's say, and to include myself in the painting. You know that all the classical painters included their portrait in a corner of the painting. For example,